Approved Knowledge Podcast, mind unlocked. With every episode we cast real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky. FPK, Future Proof Knowledge Podcast.
Future Proof Knowledge Podcast, episode 25. We are live on YouTube, and today I managed to get rid of Jay-Sean Mills. Can you believe it? And I was like, hold on a minute, Jay-Sean, you're taking over the airwaves. I need someone with a bit more class, a bit more style, a bit more of everything. So I've been joined today by the wonderful, magnificent Tana Lara. Tana, how are you doing today?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. I'm good. Now, in Jay-Sean's defense, ladies and gentlemen, he is having to go and get, I think, 3 teeth pulled. So he said he wouldn't really be able to talk. I was like, if you're really dedicated, you'd make it, but we won't hold it against him too much. But yeah, today we're going to go in a slightly different direction, Tana, and this is because of you. And you put this idea in my head, and I was like, oh, that's a good one. That is a good one. So while we've talked a lot about kind of education and neurodiversity and stuff like that, but given the time of year that we're in, people are setting resolutions and people are trying to make positive changes for themselves and their families. And I don't know about you, Tana, but I know for me, there's been times in the past where I might have set a New Year's resolution and I do really well for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or maybe even 4 weeks. And then it's gone until next year. And then I try and do it all over again. So what we want to do today is bring you listeners something practical, something usable, and helping you really evaluate those New Year's resolutions 2-3 weeks into the new year, so that you can kind of go, right, well, is this something I actually care about? And how can I keep it going beyond the usual drop-off point? So, Tana, take me back and talk to me a bit about your experience of setting resolutions, if it's something you've ever done.
Yeah, I've always journaled, logged. I know some people don't, but I believe in lists. I believe if you write it down, I'm a list maker. I believe if you write it down, it holds you a little bit more accountable. And I believe in small lists. I believe in even bulletin boards. My 21-year-old, I bought him one because I was like, you need to have it. If you have it down in front of you, it holds you accountable. And don't do anything huge. You can have a long goal, like for the year, the month, the week, the day, literally. I'm saying it wrong. You can't say this word.
Compartmentalize.
There you go. Small little activities, and they build up to big ones, because you can't do a whole, you can't tackle a whole thing at once. So, a little at a time, and it adds up. I've told all my children that, but, I journaled all the time, and you see your progress, what you did in this week, and you can see at the end of the month, and so that way you can actually see your progress in real time. I did that with all my children. I think that's a really great way to see it. And sometimes you're not going to feel about, getting up and, walking that mile or walking, but do it for 5 minutes today. And then 5 minutes will become 10 minutes. 10 minutes will become 30 minutes, and if sometimes you don't feel like, okay, we'll take a day off, but, start again later. You have to it's a discipline in yourself. And you keep going, and then you have people around you that are supportive, and those are the ones that keep pushing you and hey, did you do that? Check in and say, did you do that? Come on, let's do this. And even if they're not part of your team, they're the ones that just check in and make sure that you're keeping with your goals.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
it's a process.
It is a process, and what we'll do is we'll start to break down the how the brain works um, with new things and getting them embedded and making them stick. But you're absolutely right, and like you've already given 3 or 4 nuggets there already, and we'll definitely delve into them a little bit more. But we've been joined by, as everyone knows, one of
Oh,
my favorite people in the world, Olive Hickmott. Olive, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm all right, thank you. Sorry I was late.
That's no problem at all. It's great to see you. So, I asked Tana there what her experience of having resolutions and setting resolutions and what's kind of worked for her. Talk to me about, like, is over the years, have you set yourself up with New Year's resolutions, or is it something you've steered away from forever?
I think I've probably had a go every year, but I'm not sure how long they've lasted. And in the last 2 weeks, I've been on 3 calls, I think now, about New Year's resolutions, and
Really?
so lots of my friends have been doing things about it, and so I've been sort of joining in with those, and one of the really interesting ones was somebody who did something called Finding Your Essence, and it was an AI application of his, and it was really interesting to run through that, find out the things that you're really, really interested in, and every time you put in something, the AI came back with another thing for you to look at, sort of thing, and so that was really interesting. I like what I just came in to hear Tanya talking about small things, and I actually heard somebody talking on the radio the other day about micro habits, and I really like that. It's like tiny little things you can start doing, and you can also stick with them. So a whole selection of things, really.
Yeah.
When we had lockdown here, the Prime Minister of the day said we should all be going for. We're allowed, when we were locked down, we were allowed to go out for an hour a day, and so bless him, I went and did an hour's walking every day, and I've kept it up since, apart from when it's pouring with rain.
And we'll let you off with that one. But that, like, you know, it, over the years, I've spoken to a lot of people who will have created new habits during the lockdown. So, like at that time, myself and my wife kind of will regularly talk about how, you could only go 2.5 kilometers from your house in Ireland anyway. That was as far as you could go, which was like basically from our house round the corner to the shop and back. But what we did was that was the thing that really kick-started us starting to go walking together because we had no choice, and we had 2 dogs at the time. We've only one now. So we had to get the dog out for a walk. But we've stuck with that, like you're saying, Olive. We've stuck with that. And most mornings we will try and go for a walk together. And I have to say, it is the one thing, the one habit that unless I have to, I will not break, because it really does set us both up for the day. We get to talk about things that are going on or through our heads or whatever, the weather, but it gives us that grounding to start the day, and we both go into work feeling a bit more refreshed. And it's almost like we've had a little pocket of time just to ourselves because, driving children to activities and, thinking about the normal everyday household stuff as well that we all have to deal with, gives us that space. And it's such a wonderful habit that I definitely I can look back and go, it was probably one of the best things to come out of lockdown for us. But we'll kind of look a little bit more at, and maybe we'll start with this, the micro, because Tana, you referenced it as well, chunking down those goals. Because so I do a lot of coaching one-to-one with people, and I will usually get a lot of people coming at this time of year, and the main things people want to change are: I want to give up cigarettes, I want to lose weight, I want to leave my job, and I want to start a new career. They're the four main things that I get sitting opposite me. And I'll go, great. And usually what those people will do is they will sit and they'll tell me the critical story that they have in their heads about themselves, having tried and failed and tried and failed and tried and failed over and over and over again. And that's a really, really powerful element to address because, like, logically, it's very, very simple. Alan, you can stop smoking, don't go to the shop, don't buy cigarettes, and don't smoke. Alan, you want to lose weight? Don't eat as much crap. Go to the gym and get more exercise. Alan, you want to quit your job? Walk up to your boss and go, I quit. Alan, you want to change career? I want to be a nurse. Apply for a nurse's qualification. Like, it's that simple to do all those things. But it's not simple to do those things because that is logical. But we have to take into account is the emotional and behavioral elements that are related to making those changes. And sometimes people will go, I want to lose 5 stone. And they set themselves a goal, which is fine, but they start and they'll usually lose a bit of weight at the start quite quickly, and then they plateau. And then sometimes they might put on a little bit of weight and they go, that's it. It's not going to work. And they give up because they've set a goal that's just way too much of a weight on their shoulders. Whereas what I'll try to do is flip it on its head and go, okay, let's not think about losing weight. Let's not think about stopping smoking, as in, you have to stop completely or nothing. It's more about, okay, let's just look at being healthier today. And how can you do that? And it might just be going for a walk and not think about the longer term goal. I hate weighing scales. I tell every person I work with, throw your weighing scales into the bin because at 7 o'clock in the morning, your weight is going to be different than your weight at 10 o'clock in the morning, then your weight at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, and then your weight at 7 o'clock in the evening. It is going to fluctuate. And what we got to do is work off just being healthier day on day on day. And the more we build up that habit, the easier it becomes because we've got a more positive focus. But Tana, you're saying lists work for you. So talk to me about some of the other things or ways that have worked for you in the past to help you be successful in making those micro changes that ultimately have a major impact in what we want to achieve for ourselves.
Well, one thing you were talking about, I always try to tell my children that, okay, you want to achieve this goal, make realistic goals as well. Like you were just saying, I want to change a job or whatever. Okay, well, how are you going to do that? How are you going to accomplish that realistically? Like, okay, I want to be the president of the company. Okay, well, you don't go in and work just a week and think that you're going to be the president of the company. You need to start, and, plant a seed and work up to that. It's not going to happen in a week or two, and it's not going to happen in the first month of January. And then you get frustrated and just leave it and, okay, it's not going to work. No, it's small steps. My son, actually, he wants to, funny you're saying this, he wants to move to Chicago. He's working a really great job at Levi right now. And I'm just like, you've just been working there so many months. And he's like, well, I can transfer. Okay, well, let yourself stew at Levi's for a while. Don't just, run off the handle and go because you're feeling the itch or whatever. Let yourself stew. Make sure you have a plan to go over there first. And then make your moves, put everything in plan first and then go, set yourself up. You need to do this, I think everybody, it gets so quick. They want quick results.
Yeah.
And I think that's uh, a lot of our generations, they want instant results. And so everybody gets frustrated when they don't get that automatically. And especially with, like you said, New Year's resolutions, you don't see it, so you get frustrated and you quit. And I think that's just people naturally anyway.
Yeah,
So,
well, we live in a society that encourages immediacy. So things happen
yes.
straight away. Like, you and I could be hanging out together in 10 hours. Like literally 10 hours, you and I could be even less probably. You know, and we are on different continents, different time
Mm,
zones, but we could both, I could jump on a plane in the next few hours, get up to the airport, and be sitting down having a cup of coffee with you. I'd feel sorry for
yeah.
you, but but we, like I was saying, we live in a world now where we have that immediacy. Any information we need, any information we want, we can get it like that. And I, I, I sometimes wonder, do we do children and young people a disservice by giving into the things that they want? I've had an interesting couple of weeks going to the shop and do my weekly shop with my wife. And we went to the shop, and last week and this week we went in, and there was toddlers crying, like separately, toddlers crying, looking for presents from their presents, wanting toys from their parents. And the parents are like, Christmas is just over. We're not getting you something else, which it was great to see. And they allowed the children to have the meltdown. They carried on doing their shopping, but they didn't just give in to it. And I think sometimes do we just give in too easy to the immediacy, to, you know, so we don't allow people to be bored anymore. So if our child says, I'm bored, it's like, there you go, look at something
Mm,
on YouTube. But we need to learn to be bored in order
hmm.
to grow and maybe find things that we might be able to be interested in. Like you're saying with your son, don't just go and say, right, I'm moving tomorrow. Go and prepare for it. Go and look at where you want to live. Look at who you might want to live with. Look at how much it costs. Look at how, all that kind of stuff. So that when you get there, you give yourself the best chance of it working out. And if it doesn't, you can still come home. Olive,
If someone,
like we have had many conversations about how we can empower our kids and support them to be able to make decisions for themselves. And I think New Year's resolutions can be a good time to set goals with your kids. Like let them set their goals, but again, what are the little ways that you would advise parents to help their kids set those goals? And as Tana says, make sure that they are achievable goals.
um, I'm not sure if this is quite the right answer to your question, but one of the things that I started doing some time ago was to every evening to make a plan for the next day of what I was going to do and let it percolate while I was asleep and get up in the morning and actually do it. Because I think when we get up in the morning, we our head is full of all sorts of things and we're quite often not quite here, and things start arriving and we haven't really planned to do that at all. And so I think that's a really good technique, or whatever you like to call it, for kids. And it can be so appropriate to like homework and stuff like that, that you actually plan. But then the downside of it, I always remember my son used to have a complete phobia about the word plan, and so try and actually get away from that word, because it doesn't always work. And don't make the to-do list too long. So even if you've got a long to-do list, siphon off the 5 things you're going to do tomorrow or whatever, and you are the 4th thing I'm doing today, and there is one hanging up that hasn't quite been finished but was partly finished. So that's the 5th one.
Okay.
And I think another thing is, going back to the essence thing, is who you really are and what you really, really want to do. I am a great believer in, once you've got that, it's so much easier to plan what you do to get there.
So a really simple way of doing that with children is to brainstorm. Like,
Yep.
just write what you want to do, put you in the middle, and then just fire off loads of different leaves off and see. And just the great thing is, and especially with kids, they've got such great imaginations that they'll come up with lots of different ways and ideas. But there's a really good tool that I use, and I don't know if both of you have come across it before. It's called the well-formed outcome. I didn't develop it, so I can't lay claim to it. But it's a number of steps that help us recognize what's within our side of our control and what's outside of our control, and then is it worth it? So the very first step is step 1. What is it that I want, and be specific. So Alan might say, right, I want to be an astronaut, right? That's what I want. It's pretty specific. Second step is it achievable? For the sake of this discussion, I'm going to say, yes, it is achievable. Alan could become an astronaut. Step 3, how will I know that I've achieved my outcome? Well, I'll be close to Tana in NASA, waving at all the people shouting and roaring at the fantastic Irish astronaut. The next step, step 4, how will other people know? Well, they'll all be looking for selfies from this guy because he's a famous astronaut. Step 5 and step 6 is where things can fall down. Is that outcome within my control? Now, again, for the sake of the argument and the discussion that we're having right now, we'll say, yes, it's within my control. I could absolutely become an astronaut. And then step 6 is the cost and the consequence of the outcome worth the end result? So is the time, effort, money I have to put in worth it? So to become an astronaut, it's probably going to cost me a few million quid. It's probably going to take me about 15 years. There's a good chance my wife and children will leave me because I am in my late 40s looking to become an astronaut. So do you know what? It's actually not worth it. And I find that that's a really effective tool for kids, because kids have got grand, bold ideas of, what they want to become, and essentially they can become anything they want, which is wonderful. It's one of the beauties of being a child. But if they wanted to be an astronaut, they could go through all those steps and go, well, yeah, I definitely want to be an astronaut. Is the outcome within my control, though? When we get to that one, if it's not within your control, sometimes people will go, well, it's out of my control, so there's no point in even trying. But that's when you go back to step 1 and you reframe what's in your control. So, Tana, we want to have a very successful business, right? And we go through the steps.
Yes, we do.
And we get to number 5, is that outcome within our control? And it's actually not. Because the only way we can have a very successful business is if people invest in our project. So we could go, well, that's out of our control, so there's no point in doing it. But what we've done is gone back to number 1 and gone, what is it that we want? We want to create products based on what we've been told from potential users. And we've put it out into the market to see if there is an interest in it. Is that achievable? Yes, it is. What will you accept as evidence? We'll be speaking to potential customers and creating the products that they want. How will other people know? Well, we'll be delivering those products to them. Is that outcome within our control? Yes, it is. And then, is the cost and the consequence worth the end result? Well, so far it is, but we'll have to see long term. Um, like Olive, is there any other tools that you've used in the past that have you've found useful or helpful?
Um, One of the things I love doing with people, and I do workshops at one of the recovery colleges in the UK, or two of them actually, and one of the topics is neurodiverse strengths
Okay.
and finding your neurodiverse strengths. So I'm a big fan of finding what you're actually good at and maybe using that in a different area. For example, if you're an academic who doesn't want to be an academic anymore, then think about what's part of being an academic. Research, curiosity, um, putting things together like a jigsaw puzzle. Um, and then, okay, where else could I use those? And because you're already good at them, if you can find a different place for them, then you're onto a bit of a winner because you've already got the skills. It's just you're using them in a different application. And I do that a lot with neurodiverse students. And the reason I do it is I work in the recovery college, I work with adults. And so most people, and by the way, you can call this neurodivergent, but I tend to call everybody neurodiverse now. But in the recovery college, you get a lot of people who've been diagnosed with something or other neurodivergent, and they're going, I don't know what I can do. I'm having a real problem. I've got all these things that are wrong with me because that's what my diagnosis says, and I sort of agree to it. But actually, and so why are we talking about strengths? I haven't got any. And so and quite often, I mean, I've now documented 40 neurodiverse strengths, and I invariably find these people who think they've only got one or two, if we're really lucky, have actually got about 25 or 30 of them, and they are totally transferable.
Yeah, and I think sometimes the challenge for people is actually recognizing their strengths,
Oh,
uh, and,
totally.
and pulling them in a different direction, because we become so blinkered in, this is what I've been doing, so this is where my skill base is, and I can't transfer it. But I don't know about you guys, but I love my housey programs, right? So I love watching TV shows where they're building houses or designing houses and stuff like that. And one of my favorite shows is a British show called Grand Designs. Olive, I'm sure you've seen it. And
Right.
yeah, I love it. But some of the ones I find most fascinating are the people who do it themselves and they've got no experience whatsoever.
Yeah.
And people will always talk about the mistakes that they make. So one of the last ones I watched, this guy himself and his wife had been through a lot of health challenges, and his wife had ongoing health challenges, but her parents had a barn on their land that I think her grandparents had built, and it was just used as a barn. And she had always wanted to turn this barn into a home. So her husband, who like had no building skill, like his background was not in building, said, "I'm going to build this barn," and so we built the barn. Anyway, to cut a long story short, he built the roof, and he ordered his windows, his Velux windows, to go in the roof, and they were totally off. Like he had totally miscalculated um, the pitch that they needed to be so that the windows would fit on them. And some people who advised him were saying, you're going to have to redo the roof or have no windows. And he was like, well, one, I've got no money left to redo the roof, and there's no way we're not having natural light coming in through the windows. So he was like, but sure, why don't I just like nail in some extra bits to put the angle of where the windows need to be just in place? And the builders that were helping him were like, that actually might work. And these were professional builders who, you know, this was their trade. That would never have crossed their mind. Their first go to, I'm not criticizing them, but how, you know, when you're building something, what they did was got the new roof, and he ended up nailing it to change the pitch of just where the windows were. And guess what? It worked out. Absolutely brilliant. But the reason I bring that up, it just shows sometimes when we learn things, we are taught this is how you do it. You don't go off the beaten track. This is how you do it. But yet when we look at things from a different perspective, we can see different opportunities, which is absolutely amazing. And that's where some of the, maybe the strengths you're talking about, Olive, lie in people coming from a different background and then just looking at things from a totally different perspective, and we can see things that are, you know, others would never actually think about. Tana, talk to me about some of, right, your biggest success as a resolution and your biggest failure as a resolution. And obviously you can be as honest as you want. You don't have to tell us. If it's something too personal, you don't have to tell us. But just in general, like a biggest success and a biggest, we'll say failure, but we don't mean failure.
My biggest success as far as resolutions? I would say my biggest success is always going to bulletin boards. The bulletin boards. Every time I would get my children those. Well, as far as you mean like how I implement them, or like an actual outcome of one?
An actual outcome of one.
Oh, you know, probably reading.
Reading.
This year, I would say probably no. Last year, the last couple of years, I have probably 2 years ago, a reading goal. I started reading again, and my goal was, I don't like to pressure myself in reading because I told you, you know, being in school and everything like that, there was a lot of pressure. You had to read like accelerated reading, and we were pushed to like, oh, you have to do this much reading and blah, 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 blah. So I never liked to do a reading goal, like how many books and this and this and this. And honestly, I feel like it's pretentious. I feel like people just do it like, oh, look, I read 50 books. And I'm like, okay, well, whatever. But anyway, so my goal was to read as many books as I could of movies that I had actually seen, and I wanted to compare those mediums. So I've done that, and I log it, I journal it, and I do quotes from the books, and I just, you know, put those in little journals and everything like that. So that was a goal, and I've been doing that for the past couple of years.
I absolutely love that.
So that's what I've been doing.
I love that as well.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Because I'm always saying to people that when they read a story, it may be different to a film if they see the film afterwards. And that's just because it's different people's interpretation. And I'm often saying that. I've never met anybody who actually does that as a fun activity. I think that's great.
It is, and I've really, I mean, obviously it is, but you don't know until you really do it. And people always say they're going to, and I was like, you know, I'm going to do that. And I've really enjoyed it. I'm like, wow, it is true. but I love you just see and then you also just create different characters and you can visualize it and see it and you hear and I'll do it, I listen to a lot of music. I still collect a lot of vinyl. And so, also too, I'll be listening to vinyl while I'm while I'm reading. But so when I'm walking, I'll listen to an audiobook or I'll listen to music or whatever. But now I've also started doing audiobooks. And so you really do just disappear and you're listening to it. And it is such a experience. So that is my success of resolution that I started a couple of years ago. So there you go.
That's fantastic. Have you had any ones that have not gone as spectacularly well, or ones that you've tried to do over and over and over and you just don't seem to be able to kind of crack that nut?
I'm trying to think. Trying to think of something that I did and have not done. Um,
Right, you have a think
my
of that. I'm gonna call. Oh,
no,
sorry, you've got
no,
one.
I do have one.
Okay,
Keeping my garage organized.
okay.
I always do it, and then it just goes to.
Shit.
I was gonna say that word. I'll start it, and then I'll stop, and then like, oh, I start getting it good, and then it goes. I'm always like, oh, I'm gonna get it, and it just never does. And then I start feeling like I'm getting bad habits of hoarding, where I'm like, oh, this and this. Then I stop. I have to reel back. And my kids really keep me in place. They're like, Mother, do you really need that? And I'm like, no, I don't. Stop. Like just a few years ago, I went through all my Halloween stuff because I had like all my children's Halloween costumes.
Wow.
And I did I had a huge garage sale. And they were like, Mother, I don't, my daughter, I literally had her Hershey Kiss costume from when she was like 2 years old. And Taylor was like, Mother, I'm not going to want that. I was like, but you never know. And, none of my children, I don't have any grandchildren. And I was like, you never know. So one of y'all, no, they're like, get rid of it. So I, just organizing my garage. So that's something that's not worked out. I have tons of tubs and, outside I try to keep it organized but they're also at fault because they'll go in there and just start grabbing stuff and it's awful. So there's one.
Tana, I can't wait to watch your new YouTube show of Tana organizes her garage.
Garage.
Yeah, that's a show in itself, a weekly show where you go in for a couple of hours and you start to clear out the crap, and we can have a similar conversation in 12 months' time. You'd be like, do you like my new garage? It's looking nice and tidy and clean. But yeah, that's something I'm going to plant a seed in your head for that one. Olive, what about you? Talk to me about your biggest success in terms of resolution and your biggest non-success.
Well, I was doing very well with it, but I've lost it a bit. So I'll tell you that one. I was listening to, I don't know, something or other on the subject of handwriting and how handwriting has a different effect on the brain than typing. And so I was just listening to this podcast one day and I just suddenly started writing my logbook. I want to write. And then I just started writing. And the things I did it for about a week, I suppose, at various random times of the day. But what I found that I wasn't expecting at all was my brain calmed down.
Really?
Oh.
Wow.
And I wasn't writing about, I was writing about something, but it wasn't, I've got to write this blog or I've got to do this or whatever. I just, whatever came to me, I started writing. And I did about half a page, something like that on it. And I haven't looked at them since. But it was remarkable the way my brain calmed down.
That's so powerful. And it reminds me of my eldest daughter. So for her, doing painting is
Yeah.
the thing that she could spend hours and hours and hours doing, or Lego, and she said she's able to just switch her brain off, which I think is it's such a it's such an amazing thing to do, and you have something wonderful at the end of it that was not there before, which is absolutely fantastic. um but I know if she's getting really stressed, say with college, and it's getting a bit overwhelming, I'll kind of have a little word in her ear and go, why don't you just like paint something small, or just draw something small? And she'd be like, oh, okay. And she'll create something and it'll be lovely, and she'll be like, oh, I miss doing that. So it's, you know there is something about taking this all the way down to this, whether it's drawing, writing, um making, whatever it might be.
So, yeah, they were also talking in the podcast I listened to about how writing is so much better than typing because it uses different parts of your brain and it's much more integrative and all this sort of stuff. So I was really impressed when I started writing, and it had such a significant effect.
So
So I'll try that one.
yeah, get back on with that one. Is there anything then that really has spectacularly failed over and over and over again for you?
I started writing a book last year. I've written 7 books, so I started writing another one, and I've really disappointed myself that I haven't finished it. And unfortunately, I got through about, I suppose, half of it, and then I started trying to change the format and change how I was going to do it, and oh God, it's got into a complete mess now. I mean, it's still sitting here on my desk, so it's not gone anywhere, but it's like I came up with 5 different ways to do it, and I couldn't settle on any of them, so I just thought I'll put it away for the moment and come back to it. And I think that's a skill as well, being able to put something away for the moment and go, it's still there, I can see it from here, and it's an opportunity.
Yeah. And yeah, that's a really interesting point. Like, things change in our day-to-day lives, and sometimes we get busier, sometimes we haven't got the headspace for things. I have a friend who he paints a lot, and he will say that he could have 5 or 6 paintings on the go at any one time, and he just needs to step away from them at different times. Whereas, like, this one, I cannot do any more with this one right now, but I know it's not finished. And like that, we'll step away from it, and it is a powerful tool. As long as there's a thing called the Gestalt cycle of awareness, and with the cycle, we will go through now. I'm going to pull up the what it is, because I'll bloody well forget. So let's see. Yeah. So with the Gestalt cycle, right? It's getting something complete, and we can have breakages the whole way around. So the first thing is sensation or feeling. That's number 1. So that's where we notice an internal or something outside. So I wake up in the morning and I get the experience of I need to go to the bathroom. So I get that experience first, right? Then the next step is awareness. My head goes, okay, I need to go to the bathroom, right? Then with the mobilization, I'm like, right, time to get up out of the bed and go to the bathroom. Then the action, I get up, I go into the bathroom. Then we have the contact, I do what needs to be done. Then we have the satisfaction, where we can go, right, that's done. And then the withdrawal, where I go on about my day and do something else. And we can stop the cycle of awareness at any of those stages. So with the sensation, so I wake up in the morning and I get the sensation of I need to go to the bathroom, but I've slept through my alarm. I'm like, I got to go and just get to work. So I ignore that sensation and I break that there so that I'm not going to feel okay within myself until I can get to a point where I can actually get rid of what I need to get rid of. Then at the awareness stage, I can go, right, I need to go to the bathroom, but I know I'm late from work, so I have to just ignore it and I'll have to just go to work, go to the bathroom and work. The mobilization, it's like, again, I'm like, oh, okay, I really, really need to go, but my train goes in X amount of time. So I can break it there and I leave it. The action stage, I don't take the action and I start to get pains in my stomach. At the contact stage, where you're actually going to the bathroom and then it's like someone shouts and go, the train's about to go. It's like, oop. So you have to stop yourself halfway through and be gone. Then we can break at the satisfaction stage, where it's, I think that one's where we don't get full closure of it, where it's like, I'm not really finished, but I do have to go to this meeting. And then the withdrawal, that's where we just don't go, that was nice. It's like, that was just a waste of my time. I should have done something different. Oh no, I've left my train and I'm not going to make it now. So I've done a terrible explanation of the breakages, but if we don't get complete cycles, then we don't get a sense of okayness within us. So when you're talking about putting something down, that makes sense sometimes. But if we're constantly putting something down and never getting it complete, we don't get that full sense of achievement and a sense of success. Now, what we might decide is, do you know what? This actually isn't for me at all, and I'm okay with that. But if it's something that continually comes back up going, your book, I really need to finish that book. I really want to finish that book. I must finish that book. But we constantly beat the crap out of ourselves for not completing the book. Well, then you're not getting a sense of closure for that, and we need to have a sense of closure. Have you come across the Gestalt cycle before, Olive?
I think I've heard of it, but I've never listened to it very much. But you're absolutely right. It does hang around in my brain. The worst problem is that I've got 5 different versions of what I could convert it into. That's the big problem. And which one am I actually going to go with? Or am I going to go with none of them and just produce it the way it is? There was something else I thought of. I wanted to go on from your story. Is when I wake up in the morning, I am really pleased when there is nothing going on in my head.
Yeah.
And, people who wake up with radio, they miss that completely. And I don't always, I have banned the radio from the bedroom. But my husband tends to walk into the kitchen and turn it on. But it's like, but I just love that peace and silence. And it's one of the times of the day when my brain is quiet.
Yeah.
And that's, for somebody who's got a busy brain, I'd recommend that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
See if you can catch it being quiet first thing in the morning.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And for me, one of my biggest successes has been implementing yoga and meditation into my daily routine for the most part. It's been something I've wanted to do for years. And as I've gotten older, I started to notice a few more aches and pains and stuff like that. And I remember going to a physio, and he was like, Alan, your flexibility is horrendous. And I was like, I know. And my flexibility would be absolutely horrendous. But I started not to... I just started because I didn't want to be feeling these aches and pains. But it took I had one particular ache in my groin that was actually a hip issue. So I was like, I think it was for 2 years. I had this ache in my groin, and I was like, this is, it's not getting anywhere, but I persisted with it, and I persisted with it. I actually touch all the wood in the world. The ache is gone. But it took 2 years. And I had a friend who, when he was younger, he would carry a lot of weight. And again, he went to the gym every single day. This is not a word of a lie. Every single word of a day, didn't lose an ounce of weight. And then one day, it was like someone just took a big weighted jacket off him. It just fell off him. But he just kept going, because he was viewing it as, I'm doing this to get myself healthy. I'm not doing it for the aesthetics of looking slimmer. I'm not doing it so that, people will think I'm more attractive. And I'm just doing it so I can be healthier. So it's about flipping around that motivation. In terms of things that haven't worked so well for me, I love drawing. And I don't do it. I don't do it as much as I would like to. I don't give it the time that I would like to give to it. So maybe that's my New Year's resolution. Tana, as we come to a close, is there any kind of final suggestions or advice you could give to the listeners as we wrap things up from our resolution conversation?
Well, you just gave me another one. I had one already.
Have you?
But I was going to say, sometimes you just you need to, when things aren't going right and you feel like this isn't working, sometimes you just need to shower, sleep. You need to just, sometimes it's, it's nothing you're doing. Sometimes you just need to relax, meditate, and you need to regroup, refocus everything, and it's going to be okay. And if you fall off and you feel like, oh, this isn't working, you need to change things up. If you feel like, okay, I've gotten to the point where you're plateauing, you need to change it up, like you just said. Where your friend was going to the gym, and he wasn't losing any weight, and he was like, what's going on? Maybe you need to reassess what's going on and change it up and figure something else different. And then when that happens and you're angry about it or you're upset, come home and take a shower, eat, sleep, you're tired or something, and regroup and reassess what's going on. And then make a new plan and start again.
I love that. Kind of like giving
That's
yourself a bit of a hug and a bit of putting an arm around yourself, going, don't worry about it. We can get back on the horse.
You can start over.
Exactly.
Yeah, the sun always rises.
It does always rise, Tana. It does. That's fantastic. Olive, what about you? Have you any final thoughts or nuggets that you wish to pass on to the listeners?
I did think of something when you were talking and I'd forgotten it. I think having, going on from what I was saying earlier about having one thing that gets stuck and get put to one side is fine. Having a lot of them that are accumulating is where I think the problems arise. And so I think I would go back to my thing I said right originally, is you might have a very long to-do list, but every night decide which of the 5 things you're going to do tomorrow. And don't worry about the others.
Yeah, I love
leave
that.
Leave them in the car park.
Yeah, I love that. I actually had a conversation with my brother today, and I was just saying, he was asking me how things were going as I kind of go into proper working full time for myself. And I was saying that what I need to do is the challenge I've experienced so far is to really prioritize the things that need to be done right now, that are going to advance things, and not get distracted by the other elements that might be easier to do, might be more enjoyable to do, might be quicker to do. And I have to just go, right, which of these today needs my attention and actually is moving things forward. So, you've hit the nail on the head with that one. I suppose for me, and Tana, it's kind of touching on what you said there in the coaching process. So every single person that I have ever worked with in the coaching process, I will always say, once we start the process, we usually go on a bit of an upswing. So things start to get better. And we always, always, always hit a plateau. And people hate me saying it, but they need to know that it's going to happen, where things are just kind of like, yeah, it's kind of okay, you know. And then sometimes we hit the dip. And when we hit the dip, that's when we go, oh no, we're right back at the start. But you're not. Because you've come all this way, you've hit the plateau, and you've just hit a little dip. And that's just where we have to get you back on track on the upswing. And it is so empowering to know that, oh yeah, do you know what? Yeah, I'm not right back at the start because I've more knowledge, I've more experience. Things have actually changed. I do have a much better toolkit of ways to manage this thing that I'm trying to change. I just need to reset, like Tana, you're saying, and just go, right, what do we need to do today? Like you're saying, Olive, to get back on that upswing. And I think that is the perfect place to finish this one. I want to say, Tana, thank you so much for bringing the idea first and foremost. Olive, thank you so much for joining us. And listeners, thank you for tuning in. We really appreciate your help and support. Do give us a like and a share and a subscribe. It does make a big difference to us. And we'll be back next week with episode 26 of the Future Proof Knowledge podcast. We'll see you then.
Okay, Future Proof Knowledge Podcast, mind unlocked. With every episode we cast real talk, real tools, wisdom on the fly. Tune in, geek out, reach for the sky.